3, 2, 1. All right. Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome. Welcome to today's episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. Thank you so much for joining me here today. My name is Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding immigration attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. Today, our theme is going to be on the topic of Asylum Cooperative Agreements. I'm going to talk about what those are, and I view them as Trump's latest attack on asylum law. And so join me. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate each of you. I'm filming this. It's the 13th of January of 2026. And so welcome to today's episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. I really appreciate each and every one of you, whether you are here on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. Welcome. Thank you all so much for being here. Okay? Remember, the Empowered Immigrant Live is where we train, teach, inspire, and empower immigrants to make the most out of immigration laws and to make the most out of their lives. All right, today our theme is Asylum Cooperative Agreements, Trump's latest attack on asylum law. And my question for you, as always, is do you want to get a green card this year? Do you want to apply for citizenship this year? Do you want to apply for asylum or a U visa or VAWA, or figure out what immigration strategy is the best strategy for you, or what immigration option is the best option for you? Because if so, go for it. All right, and I'd love to help you with that in any way that I can. My firm is here in Oakland, California. We take cases throughout the United States, and we are on a mission to win 10,000 immigration cases in the next 10 years. We would love for your case to be one of them. Okay? We won 214 cases last year, to give you an idea. And so, we're here, we're doing it. In order to hit 10,000 in 10 years, my firm has got to grow. We are in this to grow and to grow our impact and to serve the clients that we believe in and to serve the immigrant community. And if we can help you in any way, we'd love to do that. Okay? So what are our updates? As I'm talking today, if you have questions about immigration law, if you have questions about your situation or whatever, please feel free to text them to me. Please feel free to leave them in the comments. I will do my best to answer them right here, right now, live. Okay? And so what are the updates? Remember that asylum applications that are affirmative asylum applications, they're all paused right now, okay? The Trump administration has just said across the board, all pending affirmative asylum applications, that we're not going to issue decisions on them. They're all going to be paused, okay? And what other updates? So for applications for people from the travel ban countries, last week I did an episode where I talk about the expansion of the quote-unquote travel ban under our current administration. That's currently 40 countries, all right? Well, 39 countries and Palestine. So a total of 40, I'll just say 40 countries, and are on the travel ban list. And everyone who is from those countries who has an application pending, those applications are all going to be paused. All right, as part of the quote-unquote travel ban. Okay, so those things are happening. The fallout after the attack on Venezuela is also happening. Remember that Venezuela is on the list of one of the countries that is under the travel ban, and so that's happening. Okay, and so what do I want to share about what's the latest in immigration court? So I'm going to a hearing tomorrow about this in immigration court. All right, I've got a husband and a wife who are my clients, and they've been here and they have filed asylum, and we're going to see what happens in tomorrow's hearing. But what I want to share is something that seems to be happening everywhere. All right, and that is that DHS is filing motions to pre-termit, saying before we even get to the individual hearing stage, we're going to say that you're not eligible. We're going to move to dismiss, essentially, your asylum claim, saying that you're not eligible. Why? Because there's this new, quote unquote, asylum cooperative agreement with another country in place. And so that there is a, quote unquote, safe third country who can take your asylum claim and who's willing to take your case and who's willing to have you go there instead. So you don't need asylum in the United States because there's a safe third country now who is willing to take you, a quote-unquote safe third country. All right? And so right now there's 4 countries who have signed asylum cooperative agreements with the United States. Or there might be more if there's secret ones that are hidden by the Department of Homeland Security, but the 4 countries that I know of are these. They're Ecuador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Uganda. Ecuador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Uganda. Okay? And so this is happening, folks. So when we go to our hearing in immigration court, we have to be ready to argue that we can't be deported to any of these 4 countries in addition to our own country. All right? And we've got to be mindful because the language in those different asylum cooperative agreements are different. All right? And so they might apply to you depending on where you're from. They might not apply to you depending on where you're from. But you've got to be ready to fight back against the government attorneys saying, Your Honor, we want to pre-termit this case because there's an asylum cooperative agreement, and so they're not eligible for asylum here in the U.S. They can go to this other country and fight their asylum claim. Okay? We got to be ready. We got to be ready to make that kind of argument when we go to our master calendar hearings. Okay? So, but how? How do we make that type of argument? Well, my plan, at least in court tomorrow, is if the government says this, which I'm anticipating they will, if the government says this, I'm going to say, Your Honor, I'd like to see that motion to pre-termit in writing. All right? I'm not interested in responding to an oral motion to pre-termit. I would like to see that motion in writing. And in their written motion, Your Honor, I'd like you to ask the government to include copies of each of the asylum cooperative agreements that the government is intending to use in this case. And I'd like 30 days to respond to this motion to pre-termit also in writing. Okay? And if the immigration judge denies those things and says, no, I'm going to consider this right here and right now on the spot, right? Then I'm going to say, and I encourage you to be prepared to say, Your Honor, we argue that this is a violation of our rights to due process and our rights to seek a full and fair hearing on our eligibility for asylum. All right? And if the judge still denies it, then be ready to appeal that decision. Be ready to appeal it to the Board of Immigration Appeals, and be ready to appeal it again to the Circuit Courts of Appeals, because that's where these cases are going. Okay? But so that's what I wanted to share today. And there are judges that are granting them orally on the spot. There are judges that are saying, hey, give this to them in writing so that they can respond. There are other judges that are saying, no, I'm going to deny this. Okay? And so that's the way it is. All right? And it's in line, right, with what we're seeing from the Trump administration. It's like, what is the Trump administration doing about asylum cases in 2026 and beyond? Well, we saw it teed up in 2025. It's not a secret, right? They're making our lives more difficult. They're going to deny more cases. They're going to detain more people. They're going to deport more people. They're going to delay asylum. Like, they're doing these things right now. This is just part of what they're doing. Okay? And so what do we do about it? We prepare to sue them. right, for violating our clients' rights. We document and prepare our cases so well that if they deny us, we can appeal and we can keep fighting about that. And of course, we stay informed, we stay up to date, we keep watching what's really going on in the courtrooms so that we can be prepared and have a game plan in place so that we can represent our clients to the best of our ability. And that's the way to do it. Okay? So I hope that's useful. I hope that's helpful. Now is not the time if you're afraid for your life to go back to your country, and if you're thinking of filing asylum in the United States, now is not the time to work with a notario or work with your cousin or your niece or somebody who's smart but maybe isn't an attorney. Now is not the time to work with people who can't represent you in front of a judge. Right? You've got to be able and ready and willing to fight about your application. And that's just the reality right now. All right, now more than ever, in my opinion, it's always that situation, but now more than ever, folks. Okay, so that's what I wanted to share. Let me excuse me. Excuse me. So let me get into your questions, and welcome again to our episode today. So Mani, I see your question here. You say, my I-130 was approved, and I'm trying to put in an I-601A waiver, but my asylum is pending. What should I do? Okay. Good question. That's a great question. That question requires specific legal advice for you. And so if you have an attorney, talk to your attorney. If you don't have an attorney, feel free to call our office. We're here to help. We'd love to help. But just to give you some context, I have clients who are in a similar situation who have said, okay, my asylum claim isn't super strong, and I'm going to focus on my I-601A now that I'm maybe married to a U.S. citizen, or depending on who your petitioner and qualifying relative is, I'm going to focus on my I-601A as my primary application, all right? But that requires me leaving the United States at the final step, right? Which puts at risk to some degree your asylum claim unless you request quote-unquote advanced parole travel document to be able to travel through your asylum claim. So there's some strategy there. Alternatively, some clients have said, hey, look, we'll file the I-601A and it's pending. It's going to be pending for 4 years. But while it's pending, I'm going to file a mandamus case. I'm going to push my asylum case because I don't want to have to leave the U.S. I'm afraid for my life to go to my home country, so let me fight that. I've seen and advised people in your situation both ways, all right? Right now, the reality is asylum law is getting more and more and more difficult, all right? I don't know the details of your asylum arguments, and I don't know the details of your asylum case or your personal situation, but as a general observation, right, asylum law is getting more and more and more difficult, and so maybe the I-601A route has some, plus asylum cases are paused throughout the entire country right now. So yeah, maybe it makes sense to pursue the I-601A route since you're eligible for both. But to really discuss it, I would say feel free to contact my office. We could do a consultation and discuss it in more depth. All right, or if you have an attorney already, talk it over with your attorney. Okay, all right. Thank you for asking that. That's a great question. All right. So Gerardo Nunez, you say I was a victim by the police at a McDonald's restaurant at North Walk, California. Okay, I got that. Or you say North Carolina. No, I was at North Carolina Federal Hospital, mental hospital. because the policeman broke my soul. Okay. That's why I'm in need to redo my case. Also, an insurance policy, life insurance, is on my side, needs the lawyer to do his work. I'm doing a lawsuit for 150, is that billion dollars? All right, I don't know if your situation is an immigration case, so it might not be my strong suit. All right, so sorry to hear that you're in the situation, but I don't think it's the right. I don't think it's a case that my office can help you with. But I wish you the best of luck. All right. All right. BC 99. You say, is holding a 10-year green card safe with ICE? Yeah, for the most part, yes. You're a lawful permanent resident of the United States. And for the most part, yeah, if they ask, hey, where are your papers? Show them you've got your green card. And typically, you're okay. Okay? Unless you have an arrest, unless you have some other issue. But yeah, by and large, you're okay. And if you want an extra level of safety, security, then consider applying for U.S. citizenship. All right? So let's see. Jolie MLUS. All right, thank you for your question. You say, can you go visit your home country after you become a U.S. citizen through asylum? Thank you for asking that question. The answer is yes. All right, if you are a U.S. citizen, then great. Then great. You're a U.S. citizen now. Could they theoretically denaturalize a person? Only if your asylum application and your citizenship application was obtained through fraud. All right, so if you lied and you falsely applied for asylum and you ultimately became a citizen through that, then, and if you go back to your country and they're like, hey, you applied for asylum and now you're traveling to your home country, so you must be lying, right? If you're asylum, you're saying you're afraid for your life to return to your country, and now you're traveling back. But as long as you were honest when you applied for asylum and you got your asylum and now you've gotten legally your U.S. citizenship, then yes, you can travel as you want to. You have travel rights and authorization because you're a U.S. citizen. Okay? And so that's the right answer. All right? Good. So, all right. Elis Etha, you say, is ICE arresting people with immigration history at U visa biometrics? Thank you for asking this question, Elias. This is a good question. The question could be even more general, right? Is ICE arresting people at biometrics, even with immigration history? I have not seen it. All right. I know that it could happen. There is some risk that it could happen, but I have not seen it. All right. I had clients just this week go to biometrics and they're asking me about the risk, and they went to biometrics and they were fine. Okay. And so I haven't seen it. I'm not saying, in my experience, it is rare that ICE would be waiting for you at biometrics to make an arrest. It could happen. I'm not saying that it's not going to happen, but I'm saying I haven't seen it. All right. User, you say, do you recommend getting advanced parole with DACA with everything going on right now? So talk to an attorney to see if I would recommend it for you. But generally speaking, yes, I do recommend it. Generally speaking, I highly recommend it because that opens doors, right? If you enter with advanced parole, assuming that you don't have a lawful inspection or admission in the past, right, or on your most recent entry, but if you have an advanced parole entry, now you're eligible to adjust status if you ever marry a U.S. citizen in the future. That's gold, all right? And you have the opportunity to obtain that gold right now. Like, yes, do it while you can. And so, yeah, and I'll say just like I've done that and won that even right now, even in the Trump administration. And I have fought that situation for DACA holders for the last 15 years. Not quite, I think. DACA passed in 2012. So I guess 14 years. And I have never once had a DACA recipient on advanced parole stuck outside the U.S. I'm not saying that that doesn't happen. It could happen. There's never a guarantee of travel. I'm just telling you my firm's experience, all right? We're 100% where we won the advanced parole. Our clients have traveled and re-entered without issue. And so that's, do the advanced parole correctly, do it professionally, and it's a good option. It opens doors for you for the future. All right. Gerardo Nunez, I'll be waiting. Oh, I already answered your questions. Yeah, you're waiting for the secretary to contact you. Thank you for being your support. Okay, got you. Yeah, I wish you the best of luck, sir, with your situation. All right, Monica, you say, I'm a U.S. citizen requesting my husband. How long for the I-130 paperwork turned in November 2025? Yeah, good question. I'd, give it a year or so. All right, give it a year or so for the I-130, and then it depends on where your husband is. If your husband's in the U.S., they can file adjustment of status. If your husband, and if they entered lawfully, if your husband is overseas, then you'll need to do the NVC process and the consular interview. All right, Jolie MLUS. All right, you say, hi, my mom just got her IR5 visa before January 1st, and she is from one of the travel ban countries. Can she come? Tricky question. Talk it over with an immigration attorney. I would need to research it, but I think that she can. I think that she can under the current regulations because an IR5 is a green card. And so I believe she can, but talk it through with an attorney to double check that. Okay? Let's see. Apple user, what is going on with DACA? Why is everything taking forever? Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. You're right. Why is Judge Hannon taking forever? Yeah, you're right. You're right. We've been waiting for a response since October. And so I anticipate that we'll have an answer on DACA soon. But yes, that's nothing. The answer to your question is nothing is going on DACA. We are waiting for the order that you're aware of and that you're talking about from Judge Hannon in Texas, all right, to see whether or not the proposed settlement is going to go forward or not. We're going to find out what happens, okay? Sponge, you say, what do you think about TPS from Honduras? All right, so that's a complicated question. My understanding is the Trump administration announced that TPS from Honduras was going to be terminated, and then there was a lawsuit fought against it, and that lawsuit has been successful. Judge Chen in the Northern District of California found the termination of TPS to be unlawful. And so right now, for people who with TPS from Honduras, your TPS has been extended, I think, through a certain date, June of 2026. I might be wrong about that, but so that's what I think is happening. Nevertheless, you'd be wise to get in a consultation with an attorney and think about what's your plan B. All right, what's your plan B? What are you going to do if TPS actually gets terminated? Because you want to have a plan B in place. It might be to file for asylum, but asylum's difficult. It might be some other situation. Talk it over with an attorney, get a consultation, and figure out what's your best plan B, just in case. Okay? All right, tumbleweeds are real. I see your question. How long does it take to receive biometrics through adjustment of status through a U.S. citizen daughter? Okay, great question. Thank you for asking it, and thank you for being here. So typically speaking, all right, we build the paperwork, we sign all the forms, we get everything finalized, put all the documents together in support of the application, and then we file it. We send it off to the government, all right? Typically speaking, about 6 weeks, 4 to 6, sometimes a little longer, and there are certain applications that are way longer because they're super delayed, but typically 4 to 6 weeks, we get receipt notices. Here's your case number, your case is received by the government, it's pending, yay, all right? Typically speaking, 4 weeks after that, roughly, up to 8 weeks, 4 to 8, 1 to 2 months afterwards, we get a biometrics notice on the case, and you get scheduled in, depending on the field office, depending on where you're at and what type of application. You get called in to go get your biometrics, get your fingerprints, take the photograph, and then your case is pending. After that, if it's still pending for 5 to 6, sometimes 7 months, you get your work permit, as long as you applied for your work permit. And if it's still pending after that, shortly thereafter, you get scheduled for an interview. Okay? That's the way it is. I actually did an interview last week where my client got scheduled for the interview before he received his work permit. All right? And we were kind of nervous about that. Like, okay, are they like trying to speed up the interview process to prevent people from being able to get work permits? But I think that they just had a faster interviewing process. This was in San Francisco, and hopefully we get a green card approved here relatively soon. All right. So the interview went well, which I was nervous about that for that particular client. So anyway, that's my answer. All right, and thank you for asking it, and thank you for being here. All right, Marisa Carrasco. All right, you say, hello, just sharing my case. I sent mine in July, and it was approved in September. It's 3 months. Oh, see, that's awesome. And where are you? We are in Texas, so you were in Texas. Okay, oh, you were saying to Monica. Okay, I got that. You guys are talking. Dude, you guys are awesome. Thank you. You guys are talking back and forth. That's great. So, so that's awesome. Let's see here. Cesar Zambrano, you say, hello, I have a question. I called USCIS. They said that the card has been in process to get printed. It's A19 U visa, but my USCIS account doesn't show any news. Is that possible? Yeah, it is certainly possible if your USCIS online account wasn't properly connected to your U visa application, which is very, very common, by the way. If your if your A18 work permit is getting approved right now, it means that you submitted your case like in 2017, maybe 2017. And if that's true, then they were hardly even using USCIS online accounts back then. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if your U visa is not fully connected to USCIS online accounts, or that your work permit isn't accurately connected to your online account. But also be mindful that you're not being scammed, okay? Because you called USCIS, they said that it was in process to get printed. Yeah, if you called them and it's not some weird website sending you information about something that's fake, then they should be correct. If you gave them your correct information and your A number, etc., they should be correct. Okay. All right. Tumbleweeds are real. You say thank you. Wow, that's nice. It's been 35 days. Okay, great. Well, good luck. Good luck to you going through that process. All right. Let's see. User, you say the reason I was asking is because I have a petition with my mom with an I-130 priority date from October of 2017. Yeah, that's way outside of processing times. All right, that's way outside of processing times. Are you saying that petition with your mom is still pending? Oh, for advanced parole. You have a petition with my mom for an I-130. An I-130 does not give somebody, okay, so I see. So you're talking about the DACA situation. So you want to use DACA advanced parole, okay, and then you want to use a petition with your mom with a priority date of October 2017, and you're already over 21, it sounds like. Because if your mom's a U.S. citizen and if you're under 21, then you're an immediate relative. You could do this immediately. And so it strikes me as being very slow. But you must be over 21 or married right now. And so, yeah, that's why it's a slower process. And so, yeah, okay, do the advanced parole. I'm not saying that you'll be able to use your mom's petition with advanced parole, though, right? That type of preference category petition, you've got to be in legal status in order to use that petition. And so that'll be tricky in your situation. But you could certainly, but nevertheless, using advanced parole is recommendable, all right, while we can, right? It's like it opens doors long term. All right. Yeah. Lucide Moreno, you say, I have my fiance in Mexico. I wasn't able to get married because she's 17, but I wanted to apply. Okay. You have your fiance in Mexico. Wasn't able to get married because she's 17, but I wanted to apply. Well, cool, cool. So the way it works for a fiance visa, if you're talking about a fiance, like the two options are a marriage-based process or a fiance process. Okay? Either way, like if it's a fiance case, you have to be legally able to get married. And so if she's still 17, you can't do a fiance case because right now she's not legally able to get married unless she is, right? Unless you get written consent by both of her parents. Like it's got to be a legal marriage in the jurisdiction where you're planning on getting married. So you might need to do some homework there. But you've got to be legally eligible to get married in order to apply for a fiance visa. But the alternative is wait a few months until she's 18, go get married, and then do a marriage-based process. Don't do the fiance process. The marriage-based process, in my experience, is better for several reasons. One, you have it's basically the I-130 is one process, and the consular interview is the other process. Versus the fiance case, you've got the I-129F petition, then you've got the consular interview, then you've got to file adjustment of status after she gets here, after you get married here. Okay, you got 90 days to get married, and you got to file a whole new process here for adjustment of status. So the marriage-based process, you save yourself like a third of the steps. You cut it down from 3 processes on the fiance side to 2 processes if it's a marriage-based case. And so it's like, I would say, hey, wait a few months, wait till she's 18, go down there, ask her to marry you, get married, and then file a marriage-based process. You have your I-130 ready to go. We could put the marriage license right in the envelope and mail it off. Just an idea, all right? I'm not giving you specifically that legal advice. Feel free to contact our office. We could have a consultation and talk it through. But for many people, that would be the strategy. Yeah. All right. Tumbleweeds are real. You're welcome. Thank you for saying that. A.C. Suarez, you say, Buenas tardes. Tengo mis 3 recibos de la visa U, pero aún nada de huellas y soy del 2 de febrero de 2025. Es normal. I don't know offhand if that's normal. That seems like it's too long. Me alegro que tiene sus recibos, pero sí me suena largo que no ha llegado para hacer las huellas. All right? So for me, it seems like I guess the question is, when did your receipt notices come in? Because I know that receipt notices have been very delayed. But, and if you have receipts, then it's like, okay, that's a good sign. The government's received the case. It's probably going through its normal process. 2025 U visas are going to take years and years and years anyway. Like, I'm not super worried about it. But it does strike me that it's a long wait if you still haven't had your biometrics done. So that's my answer. All right, quality cleaning services. After biometrics, are people with immigration history being sent to deportation? So after biometrics, typically not. All right? It's after biometrics, you typically get an answer for whatever it is that you were processing that had you get biometrics. So if it's a green card case and you get biometrics, or if it's a U visa or a VAWA case or asylum case or whatever, like typically you get the biometrics first, then the application is pending for, it could be several months, it could be a year, it could be a shorter amount of time in some situations, it could be an infinite amount of time. If it's an asylum case, all those cases are paused right now, right? And so then if that final step gets denied, then you might be sent to immigration court, typically. Okay? So there you go. Yeah, that's the way it is. A.C. Suarez, you say, pero me tomaron huellas en el pasado. Okay, there you go. So normally then, if they took your fingerprints in the past, normally what they would do is they would send you a notice that says, your fingerprints have already been run, we don't need them again. All right, and so maybe check with your receipt notices. Maybe you got something that says that, and then you're like, okay, I'm good to go. Right? But that's a good sign, right? If you had your fingerprints taken in the past and they were fine, good, and if you have your receipt notices and stuff from your U visa, that's also good. Like you're probably okay. Okay? All that's good stuff. Good. All right, so what other questions are out there? I see some, excuse me, my throat's bothering me. I've had a cold now for like a month. It's really annoying. Let's see, I see some other questions here on TikTok. F1 category, let's see, Timmy. F1 category has not moved. My mother wants to become a U.S. citizen. My PD is October 2017. Should I stay in an F2B category? F1 category has not moved. Mother wants to become a citizen. My priority date is October 2017. Should I stay in an F2B? So I'd have to look at the visa bulletin to give you precise advice about that. But generally speaking, yeah, right? If the F2B category is moving, you want to do whatever is moving quicker for you. And you have the election. You have the choice. And so if the F2B category if staying in F2B will be slightly quicker, then sure, stay in F2B. Okay? I'd be happy to look at that in more depth with you, and you could send us the receipt notices and the priority date, the approval notice of your I-130 and all that stuff if you really wanted to, and we could have a consultation. But generally speaking, do the category that's going to move quicker for you, right? All right, so Maxie, would you recommend renewing DACA after a diversion DUI? Well, diversion DUI. If you have a conviction for a DUI, you're not going to be eligible for DACA. Okay, so if you had diversion after a DUI, we've got to look at it carefully, right? Because did the diversion lead to a finding of guilt or not? And that'll depend on the state that you were in and the actual terms of your diversion process. And so we'd have to really look at it. We do in our office, we do something called a criminal consequences report, where we really look at all of the transcripts and the records of the criminal process to see what are the consequences for your immigration case. And, like you could renew DACA. The alternative is you could renew DACA and then see if they actually grant it. But that's risky, right? Because if they deny it, they could send you to immigration court. And so, but if you don't renew your DACA, then what are you going to do, right? And that's a risky situation too. And so talk it over with a lawyer first, right? Let's look at those documents. Let's get you that advice, and then we can see. Okay, Peter, I see your question here. You say asylum court hearing in cases next month. Can you help me? Well, so yes, we can help you. All right. I'm not guaranteeing that we're willing to take the case, right? We have limited capacity, especially if it's an individual hearing next month, because that's a mountain of work that would need to be done in 1 month that I don't think my team has capacity to take on another trial in just that short amount of time. Normally if somebody has like an individual hearing trial in asylum court, you need to hire your attorney 6 months before it, right? Typically. But if it's a master calendar hearing, if it's a relatively, and I'm not saying we can't, like Peter, feel free to give us a call. We're here to help. We'd love to help. We can at least look at it for sure. All right. But if it's a master calendar hearing, then yes, it's very common to hire an attorney about a month before the master calendar hearing. We might be able to file even a motion to continue that hearing date, right? Or a motion to get it off calendar, or there's several things that we could do to help you get the result you're after. Okay? Depending, of course, on what that is. All right, let's see. Sponge. All right. You say, lawyer, one more question. How long is parole in place taking through a daughter that's in the Army? Thank you. Parole in place is very difficult to predict. Okay, we've had applications take multiple years. They are very slow. So just anticipate it being very, very slow. All right, if you say it's going to take 2 years, maybe even 2.5 years, if you say that, then you'll have realistic expectations. Okay? And when it's past 1 year, you can start doing inquiries and start doing, potentially even earlier than that. But that's the way it is. Good. All right, let's see. So BMLT, you say, do you think they will lift the travel ban on U.S. citizens' spouses? Really good question. Really good question. I think that they will lift those travel bans eventually. We just got to keep putting pressure on them to do that, right? And ultimately, I think we need to sue them if they don't, right? The law is written that people who are U.S. citizens have the right to petition for their spouses. And so to have an executive order saying that we're not going to go forward with that law absent decision by Congress, like there's a lawsuit waiting to be had there. And so, so eventually it will have to go away, right? All right, so let's see here. I think those are all the questions. Cesar Zambrano, you say, thank you. Yes, I applied in May 2017. I opened a USCIS account last year and put all my receipt numbers on my account. Yeah, I get that. I get that. Sometimes the bureaucracy on the back end doesn't work as well as we wish it did. All right, like it's not uncommon for the USCIS online account to not be fully up to date as we might expect. My experience, at least. Okay. All right, you guys. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. My name is Otis Landerholm. I'm a certified specialist in immigration law. I'm also the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. If this content was useful, if it was helpful, please please subscribe. If you really want more content, please go to our YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button and also hit that notifications bell so you can be notified when we upload additional videos with additional updates and news and things of that nature. If you have an immigration case or an immigration question about your situation, please feel free to reach out. Contact my office. We're just a phone call away. We're here to help, and we'd love to help. Okay? That's all I got for today. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and we'll see you next time on our next episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. All right? Thank you all for all the participation, everybody that sent me your questions today. I really appreciate you. And yeah, we'll see you next time. All right, you guys. Make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.